Can everyone hear me okay? All right, cool. I'm going to try the floor thing because I don't think anyone's been down here. All right, so I want you all to imagine something. So imagine waking up one morning. Let's say you're getting ready for work. You're just going about your day, thinking about your to-do list, and you start to smell something burning. And so you go to your kitchen, and you see that your coffee maker is sort of smoking. It's on the fritz. Something happened. And that was sort of what you were looking forward to, right? To start your day off right, have a little coffee, and you're getting stressed out. You're like, that's not going to work out anymore. And then all of a sudden, this very soothing voice comes on in your kitchen, and it says, "Good morning, Samantha. Based on your recent coffee preferences, I have found a Keurig 4.2 for $149 to best suit your needs. If you would like me to have this ordered and delivered by tonight, please confirm by saying yes." Who here would like something like that? And who here might be a little freaked out by something like that? And that's fair. Both are totally fair. But Google has not been shy about this is where they're going, right? They want to start providing us all answers before we ever even ask the questions. And I think us as marketers need to start thinking about that more and diving into it a little bit. So super excited to talk to you all today about where all this stuff is currently, where is it going, and how you can all best prepare. So definitely have baked in plenty of Q&A time to delve deeper in whatever topics you guys all prefer. But to kick things off, where is this stuff today? The foundational SEO is alive and well, right? I heard a number of speakers talking yesterday about all of this great stuff, right? These things still matter. And it's important to be familiar with them and to continue to execute these things on your sites. But to take this maybe a little bit deeper, I think now we're starting to see a lot of people really digging into like server log file analysis, right? What's Googlebot actually doing on your site? That's kind of taking all of this a step further. And something that I recently discovered that not many people are fully aware of is that robot text file, right? We're all familiar with it, but what happens when Googlebot goes to your site, they check for that file, and it's neither a 200 or a 400, right? Let's say it's a 500 server timeout error. Does anyone know what Googlebot does when they come across something like that on your site that directly impacts all of this hard work that you've done? Do what? They stop, right? They won't crawl it, right? Christy's got it, yeah. They just won't crawl your site. It's crazy. So it's so important to be aware of how all of that stuff is rendering. You can set up custom programs to let you know if your robot text file is ever not a 400 or a 200, right? So if it finds it, it's going to try to abide by those rules. But if it's a 400, it's going to crawl your site anyway, because a lot of sites don't even know that you're supposed to have it. But it's all that in-between stuff that really matters. Speed. I feel like we've all seen this stat for years now, right? This had to have changed in the last couple of years, but we're still using it. So really, really important. And the biggest impact that you can make on your website speed is typically your images, right? And there's tons of free tools. You can even use, Photoshop or whatever it is that you're viewing your images in to compress your images without any loss in actual quality. This will save so much loading time on your end and help speed up your site. And I know Google has recently announced that with their recent mobile update, they are taking speed into consideration, right? So something really to start thinking about. Engagement metrics, right? We were all aware of kind of that pogo stick. So someone does a search for something, they click on your website, they don't really find what they're looking for, so they click back to search. It's a little tick against your site. So you need to be aware of what are people doing? What are they looking for? How can I help solve these things? And my favorite tool to sort of figure some of this stuff out is Lucky Orange. I can't speak highly enough about Lucky Orange and the things that they can do. They provide information that your Google Analytics, Google Search Console will never be able to. It's real live visitors that are recorded, and just watching some of those sessions, even their live stuff, will kind of blow your mind. Really cool stuff. We're also seeing these all over the place, right? And Rob's going to talk way more about this, but these are your standard featured snippet, right? Your answer boxes, your people also ask. But ever since they started, they've just kind of exploded. And these things aren't going away, right? They are here to stay, and they're getting crazier and crazier, in my opinion. So I think they're going to continue to increase and become much more interactive. And that interactive part is super interesting because Google wants people to stay on Google, right? They want to keep you there. So they're now using machine learning to do some of this with things like people also ask. So this was something I stumbled upon about a year ago, and I would expand these PAAs into the hundreds. And what I started to discover was that it wasn't random what they were populating at the bottom. It fully depended on what I was expanding to start with, right? It's dynamically trying to engage you based on what you just recently engaged with. This is crazy. Like, they are actively trying to provide you this stuff before you ask the question. And we're also seeing, multiple featured snippets. So you can click across different things to see multiples of these. Really interesting stuff. Where do voice results come from? Anyone know? Yes, featured snippets. I knew this group would know that. I was like, yes, featured snippets. Right? So you ask, hey, Google, how many people have walked on the moon? It'll give you the answer. It usually cites the source, but not always. And then it'll provide the first sentence or two, sometimes longer, depending. So voice has yet to figure out two really big things. One is monetization, and two are those follow-up questions. And they're starting to get better at the follow-up questions, but something to help solve potentially the monetization, and Rob, you might have more info on this later, is to incorporate these displays. So I know Alexa has come out with what we sometimes consider as like these big dumb phones, right? They don't do anything, you can't call, but they're these like displays the size of kind of a mini tablet to help facilitate some of those ads and some of those next steps. All right, so where's this stuff headed? So this is where it gets super, super exciting, and we have some fun stuff. So in my opinion, machine learning and the connecting of real-world data is going to start to take over pretty much everything. We've all seen this, right? So the popular times to go somewhere on any given day. Google is using real live data to populate this stuff, right? They're using actual cell phone data and location data to do this. And quite frankly, why wouldn't they, right? We always talk about like, links and engagement and all this stuff. If they have real world data, why would they not use that, right? How many people are coming back to that location? What do the returning visitors look like? It gives them so much more data as to who to show as a relative authoritative source. So David Mim, kind of a local SEO guru, was quoted saying, Google will be the new homepage for most small businesses. And this is something to keep a really close eye on because we're seeing everything in these results, right? Book online. You can look at menus. Don't ask why I was looking at Taco Bell. I just thought that was funny that they had it. You can ask questions, right? You're doing everything necessary in these results. It's almost like you don't need that website. This isn't to say that the local small business websites are going away. I don't think that's true at all. I think they're still going to be hugely important in providing this data to things like Google and to search results. But definitely something to keep an eye on and to continue to evaluate. So I love this quote by Jeff Bezos. If we have 4.5 million customers, we shouldn't have one store. We should have 4.5 million stores, right? It's that personalization with your site. This makes a huge impact on how people feel when they get to your site. And quite frankly, most of us in this room are so used to this, right? We go to Amazon, and they know that I'm into like leather work, and I love chess, and that my mom is purchasing weird things for her classroom like Pollyanna. That thing just creeps me out. But it's this personalized experience based on what everyone on my Prime account was recently looking at. And we see it everywhere, right? We see it in our social media, you name it. Why wouldn't we start facilitating this on our own websites, So if you don't have the development resources or things available to you to start experimenting with some of this stuff, there are different applications and programs out there for you to play around with to try to do a little bit of this. Really, really exciting stuff. Machine learning, something I get way, way, way too excited about. I just think this stuff is going to absolutely take over the world. But to kick off like the machine learning thing, machine learning is just a subset of AI, right? It's not AI. It is a subset of it, and it's beautiful. So it's, in a nutshell, you would take something like labeled training data. This is why we see Google asking us to click on pictures of cars, right? Or pictures of street signs. They need labeled training data to do all of these future things. So that's a huge component that goes into the different algorithms. Algorithms can be as simple as your stats 101 linear regression, k nearest neighbor, or random forests, right? You can start to paint this picture of what you want it to do, and then the machine learning model will figure out how best to predict something. So there's two primary types. There is supervised, which you continue to feed that's correct, that's incorrect information, and then there's unsupervised, which is crazy, and they just teach themselves. And what's funny is that you can see them getting dumber before they get smarter. And they're a lot of fun to play around with, and they have so many implications. One that's in use today is this really cool tool called Espresso. So I used this when I had my agency in Colorado, and we used it to optimize these Facebook ads. So it's a great example of machine learning. You would basically upload 4 different images, 4 different titles, 4 different descriptions, and then I think you can select either 5 to 6 different demographics, as well as mobile, desktop, you name it. It will combobulate all of these things, and it will tell you what performed best on mobile for this demographic. And then you can set it to self-optimize your campaigns, saving your clients thousands of dollars. Really, really cool stuff. I've been a fan of these guys forever. Kaggle, super weird name, really cool company. They do, I hate saying that. They do like the coolest data science competitions in the world. So if you're into this stuff at all, I highly suggest just check out their competitions. Like, see what companies are doing and what things they want to figure out. Because recently, the American Heart Association recently put up a competition with this huge data set of spliced heart MRI images. And apparently, this old way of doing it would take a doctor around 30 minutes and cost patients tons of money. And it's today our current best predictor of cardiovascular heart risk. So they wanted computers to do this for them, right? So they upload these huge data sets. It was a couple $1 million to the team that provided the most accurate outcome. And sure enough, they came up with a model that I want to say was 98.9% accurate, saving doctors all of that time and patients all that money. This stuff will start to revolutionize things as we know it. And if any of you want to get your hands dirty, which I highly suggest you do, absolutely anyone in this room on your current computers could play around with a machine learning model in around 20 minutes with TensorFlow. So TensorFlow is Google's open source machine learning program and libraries. So you can connect this with all sorts of different stuff. They've got tons of cool walkthroughs, image recognition, natural language processing, all sorts of stuff that can be connected with TensorFlow and provide really, really fun, incredible outcomes. All right, so we've all heard, this story is so funny to me. We've all heard natural language processing, right? It's been in use for quite some time, and it's gotten better, and it has many applications, but what's next is NLG, natural language generation. And we all, as marketers, need to be a little careful about NLG. There's companies like this that are popping up everywhere, right? Because content's so huge, we need to provide all this stuff. So all of a sudden, these companies have, just a basic understanding of how to automatically do some of this stuff. And I went to check this out, And I will say, I just put in dating advice. I didn't put in anything else. But they prompted me for dating advice for women, which I found slightly offensive. But I was also like, well, maybe they're really like good. They have a personalized homepage experience. What do I know? And so I selected that. And then this is their teaser, where I just was done. I couldn't believe it. And this isn't just the first thing that I did. I had been testing meta descriptions, different SEO terms, and once I got to this, I was like, okay, like this is ridiculous. I hope no one wastes their time, money, or energy on this. And so I went to find this company on Twitter, and I saw that they recently tweeted, "Are you a feminist? Read what our algorithm had to say about it on the Stylist magazine." To which I think I was being just appropriate in saying, I'd say you're still a ways off. Appreciate what you're trying to do, though. Because I do. I appreciate where people are trying to break through to some of this stuff. Their reply is the greatest thing ever. I don't know. It was too good. It was too funny. I ended up liking that. I was like, this is just great. This is a gem. But there are some people doing this really, really well. So take a look at this.
Now, before I walk you through this beautiful dashboard, I have a question. What would all of you do if you wanted to take this dashboard, publish it, then send it to everyone in your entire organization along with a written accompanying a written summary? And I should also say you don't have time to write it yourself. That's exactly what NVIDIA taught. Using the boundary-breaking power of the Extensions API along with the magic of AI, our partner, Automated Insights, is automatically populating this dashboard with that written summary. No work required. Now let's make a change. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to call one thing out here in this last bullet point. 18.4% rise relative to August. These are insights in our data that we might have otherwise missed. Now, let's just show you, because dashboard extensions are full-fledged members of dashboards. They have full two-way communication with the dashboard. So as I click on this mark, the new data that's selected is now sent, and we have a new summary that's generated. That's what dashboard extensions will do for you. So what do you think? So imagine what the Extensions API is going to do when it unleashes the creativity of developers and inspires them to create things that we've yet to anticipate. Be ready to be amazed.
That's so cool. Could you imagine never creating another client report ever again? Like, this is where things have started to go in the direction of. And the Automated Insights has actually released an open API for you to play around with and do all sorts of stuff. They've got a workshop or examples page on the Automated Insights website that I highly suggest you check out for all the different implications. It's crazy. This stuff is so exciting. And just imagine what it's going to do for SEO, right? It's a little terrifying to think that alt text could just automatically be generated for all of your images, right? Title tags could be generated based on current SERP results and things like this. It's unbelievable where this stuff is headed. Let's see. Where is it headed? I'm just kidding. All right, so how can we all prepare for the future? So I think there's still a lot to be said about current opportunities today and taking advantage of things that are still working sort of before it's too late, right? There should be a sense of urgency. And sometimes I think we overlook things, right? We kind of overanalyze all of this stuff. One of my favorite examples was when I owned Pride and we did strategic online medical marketing. We had an MRI company come to us and ask us to do basic keyword research. So they were building a new website, they just wanted some consulting. It was a relatively simple project, but what we came across was that hundreds of people a month were searching open versus closed MRI. And with just a very simple Google search, we could see that no one was providing this information, right? There was no good information on these two things. There wasn't images, nothing. So we put this page together, and I think this data is 4 years after that. That page still saw over double the traffic of their homepage and brought in their most qualified traffic. So this is still the power we have available to us today. There's opportunity keyword gaps like this all over. Everyone in this room has some, I guarantee it. But how do you find them? So sometimes the most basic place to look is this Google suggest, right? Start typing that stuff in and just don't hit enter. And I used to make all my employees actually go through the alphabet and then make note of any crazy, interesting things that they saw. And then this extra data that you guys see sort of on the side here is a Chrome plugin called Keywords Everywhere. It takes a little bit to get used to it, but it's awesome. Like, being able to evaluate this and know which has the highest search volume instantly has been a game changer for me personally. So definitely check that plugin out. But yeah, just going through the alphabet. And then my favorite is versus, right? They're down to you and someone else. It's your brand or this other brand. It's this shoe or this shoe. What is going on in those search results, and how can you create content to be competitive around it and have a voice in that space? We've all seen this creepy guy on Answer the Public. He's my favorite, such a weirdo. And it gives you, this kind of question wheel of all of the questions around a particular topic. FAQ pages are still SEO gold mines. And maybe these SEO gold mines start to lean a little bit towards those featured snippets, right? You could facilitate really great opportunities for Google to grab that content and put it in the SERP. But it's important to be aware of all of these things. There used to be, well, there still currently is, I've been blocked from using this, but you should all use it, is there's a regular expression string that you can use in Google Analytics advanced segments. And basically what it does is if anyone types a question into Google and they click on your website, it can send you an email notification as to what that question was and what that person did on your site. So what I used to use this for on all sorts of sites was to add questions to FAQ pages that I didn't even know existed. And for what seems like a couple of years now, I thought they just stopped implementing this. I was at a conference recently where they had heard me talk about this a couple of years ago. I guess it still works for everyone else, and I've just been blocked. So if any of you are interested in using that regular expression, I'm happy to share that with you. Shoot me an email at Britney@moz.com or ping me on Twitter, and I will get that to you. So Keyword Planner, I still use Keyword Planner all the time, right? They've got great geolocal keyword data. In fact, recently, I started losing my mind because of our current political environment, and I did all this keyword research state by state and figured out 2 keywords that better predict the 2016 presidential election than Nate Silver. If you don't believe me, check it out. It's on the Moz blog, and it blew my mind. Even the one keyword that was leaning more towards Hillary Clinton was the popular keyword for the US. This stuff is incredibly powerful, right? You can do all sorts of things with geolocal keyword data. So definitely continue to explore that. But just know that there are other tools available like Moz's Keyword Explorer or SEMrush that provide this additional data, right? You can see which keywords have featured snippets. You can see which keywords have people also ask boxes. So it starts to give you some of that information at a broader level. The Moz bar is still something I use all the time. This is just a free Chrome extension. And the reason why it's so cool is because you can do these SERP overlays. So this doesn't really do it justice because there's just that one result. But typically, you see all the results, and you can see all the page authority and domain authority for them and start to get an idea of, can I compete with this keyword? What's the DA, PA of the site I'm working on? Is this even something we should go after? Also, who likes to VPN all the time? You can just use this profile thing at the top of the Moz bar to set up different locations. So I've got a couple for the UK, I have a couple for Canada, different parts of the United States. So I will throttle that back and forth to see if the results change. It's really, really handy and totally free and fun to use. Refurbishing top content. This is something I almost didn't even put in here, but I think it deserves a mention because we all know what pages and what content do well on our site, right? We know what brings in our traffic or converts people the most. Why would we not want to take that content and refurbish it on these other websites to continue amplifying it? Really, really powerful tactic and really, really fun to experiment with and to play around. So this is my buddy Will. I just love this so much because I was at Sear Interactive's offices in San Diego last week, and I was talking to one of his employees who said something that I thought was the coolest thing ever. And basically, Will was on a panel recently where he was asked, Will, like, what do you think sets Google apart from all the other search engines? And Will goes, stop complaining. Like, they don't complain. He was like, we don't even know how to type, right? We don't even know how to spell. And Google came up with autocorrect. Like, that's amazing when you think about it. And I think us as marketers need to think about that as well and start to apply it to the things that we're doing because it's true, right? They go the extra mile to make this stuff so easy for us. And they're just going to continue to do so. So I just thought that was the coolest thing. And this is the last big what you can do to prepare that usually shakes up a room a little bit, but bear with me. Apps are horrible, right? Apps are the worst. The app experience is not great. Let's say you attract, 1,000 potential users. You lose 20% of them for every step you make them take, and by the time they get to download and actually use your app, you're down to 262. That sucks. Like, you put all that work, money, energy into an app for that, and this is also why it costs so much more to acquire app users. It's ridiculous, but there is an awesome solution that a lot of us are super excited about, and it's PWAs, right? The progressive web apps. So progressive web app, in a nutshell, it is a website that is wrapped in an app-like shell and uses these things called service workers to completely render and cache your resources to feel like a very fast, flexible app. And there's all sorts of benefits. So the Washington Post had one recently that loaded in 0.26 seconds. I actually boarded a flight from Denver to Seattle, and in airplane mode, after I had already uploaded this, I was able to flip through the entire website of the Washington Post and read a bunch of articles on the flight. It blew my mind. You can still bookmark these PWAs for app-like experiences, right? You can still have that icon on someone's phone. That can still happen. But this also uses Firebase for custom push notifications. So let's say you want to reach, 25 to 45-year-old males in this area for some special whatever you're promoting. You can do that with PWAs. They're also always fresh, right? And you don't have to update them, which is always a really big pain. They're universal, so there's no more Apple Store, Android Store. It's just you can find it on the web, which means it's way more linkable, and you have all these opportunities to get people to your PWA. You've got all these pages. It's really, really exciting, so which means it's discoverable, and it saves memory, right? None of us like cleaning out memory on our phone to upload something new. And so you remember that coffee example at the very beginning of the talk? So recently, Google has come out to announce that they're releasing Proactive Assistant. What this means is that voice will start proactively providing you like assistance or help for you name it. One of their examples was if they see that you have a flight leaving Utah tomorrow, they can call an Uber or a Lyft for you to make it to the airport on time, right? Based on all these other conditions. So really, really interesting stuff. It's just going to get more and more crazy, but also more helpful and interesting to keep an eye on. So what did we talk about? So I know this is sort of a lot, but where are things today, those foundational practices definitely still apply. as well as keeping an eye on server log file analysis. If you've never done that before, I highly suggest you do that. Screaming Frog has a really great log file analyzer that you can use and play around with that will help. The future, right? So this is Google will get more and more up in your business. So that was something I wanted to quote in an article recently, but it's true, right? They're going to get to know more and more information about your customers. What are they doing? What's the return like? How long are people staying? All of this stuff will become more and more transparent. In addition to the predictive marketing, that personalization, you name it. Something we didn't really touch on was this idea of fluid experiences. So this is something Dr. Pete has been talking about a lot lately at Moz, and I think is super exciting. But he said that he started to notice Google sort of creating these voice experiences that translate to maybe your television, or a speaker, or that can follow you on your phone. That they want to have this idea of these fluid experiences to provide the information in the way that you most likely want it, right? So it kind of carries, which is interesting. And then how to prepare, right? There's so many opportunities available today. And it's just a matter of teasing them out and taking advantage of those. But I highly suggest you also explore those PWAs. Check out the machine learning capabilities with either TensorFlow or just keep an eye on Kaggle.com and play around with the idea of, what could dynamic content and personalization do for your site? What would that look like? And just starting to think about all of those things. I've got all of the tools that were mentioned here, and this will be available to all of you. So and there's a couple I didn't really mention, but I just think these are all worth checking out. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up for me. So thank you guys so much. So I know we definitely have time for Q&A, and I would love to take any questions that you guys have on any of this stuff. Yeah?
Talk a little bit more about the regular expression to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so he was asking about to speak a little bit more about the regular expression to figure out what people are searching for. So you could probably write one yourself, but essentially it's a regular expression string using all of the who, what, and, or, if, like those kind of questions. And it will blow your mind. Like the first time so I was doing it in the medical space, and the questions that were being asked about these somewhat bizarre medical procedures never even crossed, our desks or our thoughts. And so it is really fun to put that into advanced segments and to start to get some data. I know I tried it for Moz when I was first hired, and it worked for maybe like a week or 2 weeks, and then I was cut off from that. So you do have to kind of be careful with it. I don't know, they've never outright said if it's bad or if it's whatever, but the worst thing, in my opinion, that will happen, they'll just stop sending you the updates. But I actually have a whole YouTube video on it that should be public. So, if you even do regular expression, Britney Muller on YouTube, you should be able to find it. And then you can tweak it to whatever you would like to fit your question needs. But it's cool because if there's one person asking a really bizarre, weird question in your space or about your topic, there's likely others, right? So we actually continue to add those to the FAQs, and we just saw up and to the right for all sorts of websites, and it was really fun. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but you have to promise to tell me if it works for you. Okay, cool. Do you have any other questions? Yeah?
I guess I have one. So single-page web apps.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the data is cached on the device. It can be cached on the device.
Yeah.
How do we make sure, we're making sure it's explorable for Google and not just caching it on the device? Are there any red flags that we should be aware of?
Such a good question, and still somewhat of like a gray area. So they've recently come out with different documentation as to how to implement PWAs to make it fully accessible. And I know that Google specifically is actively working on, I forget what it's called, but the prompts to download it as a bookmark. So that's sort of because that's what's making people transfer from the applications to the PWAs, is that ability to still look and feel like an app. So a lot of that is still really gray space. Cindy Crum at Mobile Moxie might have better documentation for you. I know she's doing really incredible things with PWAs, but yeah, I don't really have much more info other than that. But yeah, thank you. Yeah?
Question about Lucky Orange. You mentioned that briefly.
Yes!
Yeah, and so you said it does recordings.
Oh my God, it's insane.
We use Hotjar.
Yep.
And we use other services. I'm just wondering, is there a reason you pick Lucky Orange over any other?
Yes, good question. So just asking about Lucky Orange. I just have not had great experiences with Hotjar. It's like froze up on me. It doesn't work. I love Lucky Orange so much because, so here's just like the example that stays in my head so much is that I learned about Lucky Orange through Mike King, who's a very technical SEO and was doing really cool stuff with it. And I had done all of these A/B tests for this website I was working on for a client of mine, and we launched it at midnight. And I was so cocky. I thought this thing was like the best thing ever. We had done all these tests. It was going to be perfect. And I have Lucky Orange set up to, it sounds like a doorbell when someone is live coming to your site so that you can watch them in real time, which is so fun and crazy. And so it was midnight, and we launched it, and I'm all excited. I'm like playing music. I'm thinking this is great. And I hear the first Lucky Orange visitor, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And it's a mid-30s male from Galveston, Texas, on his iPhone in Safari. I will never forget this. I'm watching him, and he's browsing, he's reading. I'm like, yes, like we have killed it. This is so good. He's checking it all out. He gets to the footer on the homepage, and I hear click, 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 click. And he's clicking on the address that we hadn't connected up to any sort of maps. And I was like gonna throw my head through the computer. I couldn't believe it. That is something you will never see in Google Analytics or Search Console. I mean, there's all sorts of different use cases. I've used it on higher education websites. My dad works in higher ed, and we installed it on the admissions pages and immediately picked up on the fact that graduate students just want to look at the programs, right? We had all these recordings that he could then use as leverage to get these things fixed. Because sometimes you need that, right? You need that leverage and that data to get things through to the next step. So Lucky Orange really gives that to you. And the recordings are just unbelievable. The heat mapping and stuff is really cool, but it's important to look at individual recordings as well. Because this isn't test cases, right? This isn't Mechanical Turks you're making visit. These are real visitors that are currently looking for what you're providing. So I think it's so, so powerful to play around with it. And maybe Hotjar and others do similar things. I've just had really great experiences with Lucky Orange. Yeah. Thanks for that question. That was good. Anything else? Yeah?
Can you talk about Moz at all?
About what?
Like where Moz is going, what the plans are, like what's like brand.
Ooh. Oh my God. Do you want me to cry? I'm just kidding. I'm like, it's weird. Moz is in like a very strange state right now, but really cool things are coming. So Rand's leaving in a couple of days. But he's still going to be around, and he's still going to help out on a number of different things. I would say, I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but we are working on a really big feature to be competitive again with Ahrefs and SEMrush, which I'm sure most of you in this room could probably think up what that might be. So we are looking to actively improve that and to have competitive data again. And it's looking really good, and I'm super excited for it. So good things to come. Apologies in advance if you start seeing my face a lot more than Rand's. I'm super nervous about it. I am supposed to do Whiteboard Fridays, but it's so hard for me. Rand walks in. This is not a joke. He walks in, and he goes like this. He goes, okay, so what am I doing? What's the Whiteboard Friday today? Oh, one second. And he takes out his phone, and he goes on Twitter, and he just picks up some markers and just like starts doing it. One take every time, and that's how he shoots them. I walk in, and I'm like, oh my God, like what am I doing in here? And I'm doing all this research, and I've rewritten it 50 million times, and it's late, and I have to have a couple beers, and it's like myself recording myself, and it just takes me a lot longer, but I'm trying to get better. It's weird. He's a magician. Like no one can do that stuff quite like Rand. So he's definitely gonna be missed, but hopefully we'll have some good stuff prepared, and he's still gonna be around. He's still talking at MozCon. So that's really exciting. Him and Will be there. And so, yeah, just good things. Good things to come. Yeah, good question. Anyone else? Yeah.
So I think a lot of us went to Boston last year and saw you speak, and you talked about some of the experiments that you have run with meta descriptions and your comment forums. I was wondering if you had any more experiments.
So I do lots of really weird stuff where I like to break things at Moz. And no one likes it more than the SEO community because it's interesting, and I think that there's opportunity in figuring out what breaks a featured snippet versus what gets it. Is that what you're referring to? Or just the actual title, tags, and meta description testing? Because I do have that. Okay, so just super, super quick. How are we doing on time? Do you want to kick me off? You can kick me off. All right, but we'll make these slides public. So beyond this, there's bonus slides that I have provided, like 5 of my different title meta description tests, and what I've done so wrong that I suggest none of you guys do, and then what you can do to sort of help. But yeah, check those out because that's like the real data. Yeah, good question, Samantha. Awesome. Thanks, guys.